So I sometimes react to the Am I the Arsehole subreddit. I'm going to do a similar thing today, but I'm actually going to be reacting to the True Off My Chest subreddit. The first one is, my girlfriend has autism and I want to leave her for it. You have us on the edge of our seats here. So this person's 21. They have a girlfriend who is 20 with autism. I'd prefer to say I'm autistic than have autism with autism, but maybe his girlfriend prefers person first language. That's fine. I met her online during the pandemic when chatting was the only way we could get to know each other. After a year of talking, we made it official and started dating. Brackets, call me hasty for dating so soon or laugh at me for online dating, whatever. Why would anyone call it hasty if you've been talking for a year? Is it just because they hadn't met because they were just talking during COVID so they couldn't meet up? But I don't know, I don't think people are as weird with like online dating, which is cool. And it's cool for autistic people because maybe, you know, that is an easier way for us to meet people, as maybe was the case for his girlfriend as well. Yeah, I don't really think it's that weird anymore. I think we've had two relationships in my Discord server. Like, I'm not advertising it as a dating service. They just kind of came naturally and organically because people are talking, which is really sweet. We only really met in 2021. She didn't live in an area close to mine and we had to attend to academic matters, so we couldn't meet often, but as much as we could. I decided to move in with her. We live in a small apartment and share a bedroom, sleeping on the same bed. In brackets, a decision we both, in all caps, agreed on. But after a while, she started acting differently, in quotation marks, from how she usually did. Okay, so is this maybe she's autistic? Maybe is she starting to unmask because she's getting more comfortable, so you're starting to see more of her autistic traits. In the short term, autistic people can often come across as like normal. It can be very exhausting for us to appear that way and have to constantly monitor our behavior. You know, if you live with an autistic person, you're more likely to see them unmasked. Some people try and mask all of the time, which must be just incredibly exhausting. She said it was probably due to her autism, in quotation marks, and there's nothing wrong with that. The issue is she has never, in all caps, told me about her being autistic. I guess it's not that big of a deal, but you think not once during our 4-year relationship she ever thought of telling me. That's interesting. I wonder when she was diagnosed, whether she was diagnosed when she was younger. There was actually an Am I the Arsehole post that I responded to over on another bonus Am I the Arsehole video that I made on my Patreon, where there was kind of a similar situation where somebody only found out, I think they were married, they only found out really late into the relationship that this person had been diagnosed as a child. I think sometimes it's shame. I think sometimes people are worried, you know, you're trying to make a good impression when you're getting into a relationship, you're trying to show your best self, you know, maybe you're worried about the stigma. Unfortunately, autism isn't always viewed in a positive light, you know, things are hopefully going to keep improving over time and she'll maybe feel less ashamed of saying it. It isn't necessarily like a malicious lie. I think it's kind of like a protective mechanism, like masking is. Masking kind of could be seen as lying in a way because it's like a bit more of a calculated way of presenting yourself, but the intention behind it is not to manipulate somebody. The intention behind it is to, you know, not be ostracized. Your girlfriend may have had a history of being bullied, of maybe people not reacting well when she told them that she was autistic. Autistic people can often just really want to be perceived as normal, and telling someone that you're autistic, you're immediately telling them, oh look, I am different in this way, my brain is different, I'm going to act differently. And then you feel like people maybe might be kind of scanning for your weirdness or something. You know, maybe she just wanted you to like her for her, you know, as Taylor Swift would say. I can imagine that maybe the boyfriend, the person posting here, might feel quite offended by that though, because I mean, if there's something huge came out about my partner after we'd been together for a long time, I'd be like, oh, why don't you trust me enough to tell me? You know, it can be hurtful. Like, why did you think that I would react badly to that information? It would have been fine. It wouldn't have been a problem. And maybe it can just kind of affect the trust in the relationship a little bit. At the same time, like, should she have to tell him? Is it a thing that you must disclose to your partner? You know, they must know what they're getting into, that they are getting involved with an autistic person. I don't know. That feels not great to kind of think like that. But at the same time, it feels like, well, if she is really comfortable in the relationship, wouldn't she want to share it with you? But I don't know. I don't know what her history is. I don't know what her history is with like how comfortable she's been made to feel about being autistic with other people. You know, I don't know. Every time I try to sleep in our bed, she keeps telling me to sleep on the couch, since me brushing against her in the middle of the night was annoying. We don't have a spare bedroom and our couch is fairly small, but I agree, since I didn't know much about autism nor sensory issues and I didn't want to upset her. I mean, oh gosh, that would be really hard to have to sleep on a small couch every night. It's tricky. I think some autistic people do feel like they can't share a bed with their partner. I personally really like it, and I find it really difficult to sleep if my partner's not in bed. I actually like it. But I mean, my grandparents have unfortunately both passed away. My grandpa passed away recently. Pretty certain, a lot of people were pretty certain that he was autistic. It was a word used quite a lot. They actually did sleep in separate beds. I think because he said she snored and he couldn't handle it. The whole time that I knew them, they had separate rooms. I have definitely read on Facebook pages that there are other autistic couples and other autistic people who are like, oh my gosh, I could never share a bed with somebody else. It certainly is a valid thing. Obviously, if you're in a small apartment, that's different, you know, like you have a house with bedrooms available and you can make a comfortable situation. I would feel really bad. I don't know, maybe can you get some sort of like, I guess a blow up bed would be awful to sleep on all the time, but I just feel like there must be something better than a sofa. Like, whenever my sister comes to stay, she brings something that she has that's quite a nice, you know, temporary sleeping thing that like you roll up and then roll out. I don't know. I'll have to ask her what it is. You could also get like a fold out sofa. I mean, that would be a pain having to get the sheets on it every night and set it up, but I suppose you're probably having to do that with the sofa anyway. It isn't ideal. I don't know if there is anything else that she could maybe do to make herself more comfortable. Could you have like separate duvets maybe? So there's like a bit more of a barrier. You're not under the same sheets together. My parents actually do that. They have separate duvets and they just find it a lot easier to not have to fight over this one big duvet. I think it's just a bit more comfortable. So maybe there are other things that you could do that wouldn't mean like, oh, we're not sleeping in this bed, or maybe getting a slightly bigger bed so there's more room if you have space. Again, if there's a small apartment, I know what it's like being in a tiny apartment and also like not having the money to invest in new furniture. Most of our furniture that we have in this place is like hand-me-down furniture that's all chipped and broken, and it's like, yeah, I know what it's like when, you know, you're in your early 20s and you've not got the money to necessarily invest in like a load of nice stuff. So I don't know, I just feel like maybe there is a bit more of a compromise. But have you expressed to her, did you just go, oh yeah, that's fine? I don't know what the level of communication is here. I feel like you need to tell her. Particularly with autistic people, we can need direct communication. If you tell us something's fine, then we're gonna go, okay, it's fine. Like, you wouldn't say it was okay if you didn't think it was okay. But you know, obviously sometimes people do say things are okay and they're not really okay with it. She might actually be quite shocked to find out that you're not okay with it. I don't know. More issues arose, so he's bullet pointed some issues. Number one, I play guitar and enjoy doing so, but she said it was too loud and distracted her and forced me to stop. Even when I provided solutions such as earplugs or going to the farthest room away from where she was. Yeah, I really struggle with noise sensitivities, and I think I do annoy people around me because there have been times where I'm really trying to finish something, particularly when it was, you know, schoolwork and things like that, something I really need to get done on a deadline. Like, my parents would be walking around, the floorboards would be creaking all the time, and I'd be like, can you please stop? The floorboards are creaking and I can't concentrate. That was before I was diagnosed autistic. I didn't realize I had sensory issues. I just knew that this thing was making me feel awful and I needed it to stop, and I didn't know why. Whereas now I know that I have sound sensitivities. I have a diagnosis. In my video I made about autistic burnout recently, I mentioned that I got myself a pair of ear defenders and it's been great. So that might be a good idea. I mean, obviously he's mentioned trying earplugs here. I don't like, you know, sticking things in my ears massively. Having, you know, the over ear stuff I always prefer. I mean, maybe if she has like noise cancelling headphones, she can play music. I wouldn't mind somebody playing guitar if I was listening to it. I think it's when I'm trying to do something else or concentrate on something else, it can pull me out of what I'm doing, and that can be really, really frustrating. I think this guy should look into this area of monotropism a bit, just so he can understand where she's coming from. But then obviously that doesn't mean he compromises on his hobby and that he never does it, but maybe they just, again, having the smaller apartment might not be helping them so much. Is there some sort of agreement that they'll have, or maybe like he only practices between these hours at the times when she's not home that you could practice as well? And maybe she, you know, she does need to try a few different things, try different brands of ear defenders, earplugs, noise cancelling headphones, that kind of thing, to help her feel a bit better in that situation, but you not have to completely give up on practicing your guitar because you are going to become resentful. It can be though that noises do feel sort of painful for an autistic person, particularly if you're trying to concentrate and you're constantly being yanked out of what you're doing. So I do think it's important to have empathy for her as well. But obviously, you know, there are two people in the relationship and, you know, you both deserve to be able to enjoy what it is that you enjoy. Number two, I can never rant or talk about my feelings with her. She either is dense or laughs. When my childhood dog was going through seizures and probably needed to be put down, all she said was "oh" and started talking about herself. It's like talking to a brick wall with her because she either doesn't care or is only interested when it benefits or revolves around her. Yeah, I do understand why this would be upsetting. I mean, I'm autistic and my partner's not autistic. He's not a very sort of emotional person and he struggles to know what to do when someone else is upset, whereas I feel like when someone's upset, I'm like, how do I help? I need to make it better. I want to talk about it for hours and fix everything for you in your life and that kind of thing. So I just think people are different. I do think we obviously have the stereotype that autistic people don't have a lot of empathy, and I think there's a lot of reasons for that stereotype and why I think it's, you know, it's not true to say that autistic people don't have empathy. One of them I think is we do tend to be quite tunnel vision. So I wonder, is this girlfriend always talking about herself, or is she talking about whatever it is that she's tunnel visioned on? Again, if you watch my video about the theory of monotropism, some of the things that she does might make a little bit more sense and it might help you to not take it as personally. We just tend to get very, very zoned in on our interests or whatever it is that's in our head. We can perseverate on thoughts and ideas and they can just go round and round and take up a lot of our attention, and it can be very difficult for autistic minds to then pivot and be like, okay, we're talking about the dog now. Obviously, you still do have emotional needs and you want to have support from your partner. Again, I wonder, are you communicating this with her, or are you just putting it on Reddit? You know, have you said to her that I really want to be able to sit down now and talk about my dog? Because autistic people don't always understand social cues. It's not always intuitive to us. She probably doesn't have as much of an emotional connection to your dog as you do, and she may just feel like, well, I can't do anything to stop it, I can't do anything to help it, so there's not any more point in talking about it, and not realize that you kind of need to talk about it. You know, maybe if you said to her, I need to talk about this right now, I really feel like I need to talk about it with you in order to feel better, and just directly communicate what you expect from her, then she might understand. Number 3, I'm Korean and enjoy eating Korean cuisine even after I moved to America, but my girlfriend hates the smell of it when I cook and hates even more so the taste of it. So we frequently only eat fast food and whatever she pleases. I'm sure there are probably loads of people watching like, oh, I want someone to cook me Korean food. I think it would be one thing if she was like, okay, I think we need to eat separate foods because, you know, we're both from different cultures, we both like different things, so you do your thing and I'm gonna go and get fast food or do my own thing. Autistic people, we can, you know, need safe food that's more uniform. You know, if you're from different backgrounds, I don't know if anybody watches Ewan on YouTube, I really love her shorts. She's a Vietnamese woman who's living in Germany with a German fiance, and they eat completely different meals because, you know, he likes a lot of bread and cheese and meats, and she likes to eat Vietnamese food, which has a lot of fish and a lot of greens. It looks very healthy, like there's just so many greens. They have agreed just to, you know, I think they'll try dishes that each other make and stuff like that, and she has a series where she tries German foods, but they've kind of agreed just, you know, we from different backgrounds, we like to eat different foods and that's okay. But I think if one of them was like, you know, it smells or something, that would be a bit harsh, and I do think you have to be respectful of somebody's culture as well. Like, living in a different country, you may very well want to eat, you know, the foods that he grew up eating, just as she wants to eat her safe foods, you know, in the fast food that she eats. From a health perspective, it might be a good idea for her to try and branch out a bit from that fast food. I can't really think of any suggestions of like what you can do to kind of accommodate somebody's sensory issues in terms of smell. I suppose just like opening windows when you cook and stuff like that, I suppose it is a tricky one because it is a real sensory issue that people have. Things can make you feel sick. It can be very, very unpleasant. It can be very distracting again if something smells really strong. There were many times when my mom would be making something for my stepdad and it would be very pungent, or like if my husband cooks something that, you know, I don't really like, sometimes it's like, oh, it's really not pleasant. Smells can be super, super strong to us, but at the same time, I also think you should be able to eat the food that you enjoy. She has a lot of interest, but whenever she wants something, she always expects me to pay for it. I have a good paying job and can well afford her likes, but anime figures and vinyls are crazy expensive. I'd much rather save my money. Sorry for laughing. Again, I wonder if this is something that you've communicated to her. Maybe she's kind of internalized it as like a rule about society that, oh, like men pay for things for women and things like that. I don't know. If you don't want to buy something for somebody, I don't think you should. And I'm assuming that your girlfriend doesn't buy gifts for you. I think it's nice if you both, you know, occasionally buy something for each other. That's one of the worst things about having like joint finances, and it's why we kind of have joint finances, but we have separate bank accounts, because I want to be able to buy gifts and it not be showing up on a statement and things like that. I think it is nice to, you know, either party, regardless of like gender norms and whatever, to just offer to buy something for somebody. That can be just like a really nice feeling. If I had a partner that was just demanding, buy me this, I'd feel a bit used, I think, in that situation. So I just think communicate, put your foot down and just say like, you can give me a list of things you want at Christmas and birthdays maybe. I don't know, I don't think it should be an expectation. I don't think I'm asking for much. I don't expect her to be a therapist or for her to put up with my guitar playing 24/7. I'm not asking her to not want gifts or to eat the food I eat. It's easy to fake your personality online, so that's probably why I didn't expect her to be so different. Even if someone isn't autistic, once you live with somebody, they've been together for 4 years, like you're not in the honeymoon phase of your relationship or whatever, and like, yeah, once you live together, it can be more tricky. Maybe you just are too different and maybe it just doesn't work. I was quite lucky with my partner. Things just always felt quite easy and just kind of slotted into place. I think we're both quite different people from who we were when we first got together. It's been 9 years and we got together when we were 19, so obviously we were going to change quite a lot, but I think we kind of changed with each other and both taken parts of each other on, and I think we both kind of improved, I would like to think. Maybe sometimes it just doesn't work, or maybe with a bit more communication, you'd be able to compromise more. I don't know. I have tried talking to her about this, okay, but it's always a simple response of I'm sorry or I'll try harder, and she never does. I feel like they need to be making a practical plan. I don't know if anyone necessarily needs to be saying sorry, and I do think it's important to note that autistic people, you know, we can often feel like a burden or feel like we're too much. And the difficulties that we have with sensory issues, you know, they are very real, and it's lovely and wonderful if somebody will support and help to accommodate us, but also like you don't want to lose yourself in that process as well. So it is a balance. I think, yeah, it's about compromise, about discussing. I don't think anybody necessarily needs to be sorry, just need to have like a practical plan in place for how to move past these issues that you're having. Maybe as a gift you need to buy her a pair of like serious ear defenders. That would be quite romantic actually. Maybe you could find like a pretty pair, or a pair that matches whatever this person's style is. Please give me advice or opinion. Are all autistic people like this, or I'm being dense? If you've met one autistic person, you've met one autistic person. So no, every autistic person is going to be different. And I don't know, maybe you just don't get on, and maybe you're just not a good fit regardless of being autistic or not. I don't know. Will I be doing the right thing by leaving her? She does still have positives to her, and I love her to death, but this is seriously draining me and I have no idea what to do. I'm autistic, someone said. The thing is, having autism doesn't grant you a pass to selfishly expect people to solely accommodate your needs. That is true, but we do live in a society where autistic needs are very much not accommodated, and it is also the autistic person's home as well. I think there probably are a lot of autistic people out there who still feel the need to mask at home, and you know, it sounds like she's having to say sorry for her behavior constantly within her own home. It just sounds like nobody's happy in this dynamic and in this situation. She's perfectly capable of compromising. Someone also said, doesn't sound like autism, sounds like selfishness. I think being selfish is kind of a criticism that autistic people get used against them quite a lot. I've definitely noticed that with my own family members and stuff, but I just think, yeah, kind of like needing accommodations for sensory difficulties, and you know, having this tunnel vision, not necessarily selfishness. I guess if you have tried to come to a compromise and it hasn't helped, maybe there is an element of selfishness, and maybe there is an element of, you know, just like not being willing to adapt to another person, and you know, maybe she isn't ready to be in a relationship, or maybe she isn't ready to be in a relationship with you. Maybe it's just, you know, not working out, and that's okay, that's fine. Someone responded, sounds like both to me. No, I think they're just incompatible. That's a valid reason to end the relationship. I'm also autistic and agree. I have sensory issues with sharing a bed with someone, but when that happens, I sleep on the couch. I pay for my own interests. I can show empathy. My autistic friends who struggles with empathy would know how to react to the loss of a pet appropriately. I don't think it's about reacting appropriately. You don't want to feel like you're putting on a show with your partner necessarily. That just sounds like masking, but I think it's just knowing that, okay, my partner is upset, so he might need something from me. Like, what can I do to cheer them up? It's about what you practically do than like needing to have, you know, the right facial expression and look adequately sad about it. You know, I don't think you should have to feel like you need to pretend with your partner. My husband and I sleep with separate blankets, someone said, because his skin sticking to mine drives me crazy. Yeah, exactly. I think there may be workarounds that they can do. It just depends whether or not this couple want to do that, and whether there are enough positives. They didn't list any of the positives in their relationship. Yeah, sometimes neurotype aside, sometimes people just aren't compatible, and that's okay. I hope that her sharing that she's autistic hasn't devalued her in his mind, which is probably what, you know, she was afraid of. Also, like, you know, if you want to leave her or you're not compatible, you're not having a good time, like, you don't have to stay with someone just because they're autistic. That's not going to help anyone. If you're not happy and you're miserable and you're resentful, then don't just hang around because somebody has a disability. That's infantilizing, you know. Hope they're all right. The next one is interesting. I don't know if this is true. I've been telling people in my workplace that I have autism, even though I don't have autism. I'm a creep. I'm a weirdo and not good socially at all. Instead of letting people speculate on my weirdness, I've started telling them that I have autism so they would feel bad for laughing at an autistic person. Person 1, isn't that guy weird? Person 2, yeah, weird as F. I don't know what's wrong with him. Or person 1, isn't that guy weird? Person 2, yeah, doesn't he have autism or something? Person 1, oh yeah, I don't know, just seems better in my mind. I mean, yeah, kind of right. Sometimes when you do have a diagnosis, I think it can help people to make sense of you, whereas before they might have, you know, been confused by your behavior, and that might have given them a bit of a bad feeling about you or something when they couldn't place why they were getting a bit of a vibe from you. But if they can say, oh, they're autistic, you know, maybe that helps people. I don't know, but then most people are quite misinformed about autism, so that doesn't always work that way. This is very strange. This post probably deserves to be on fake disorder cringe rather than all the posts that actually do end up on fake disorder cringe. I mean, are you sure you're not autistic? That's my first thing. I don't know, like, have you checked that you don't have something diagnosable? Because then you could actually use that label with people in your life, and you wouldn't have to lie about being autistic in order for people to sort of understand you better. And yeah, I would say if you don't have any reason to believe that you're autistic, no, don't go around telling people that you're autistic. Maybe do see if there is something that you have that you could have diagnosed. I don't know. Or maybe they do already have something diagnosed and they prefer saying autism. They haven't shared. I don't know. Someone said, bruh, you told people you have autism so they wouldn't hurt your fifis, your feelings. Is that what that means? That's effing pathetic. This is coming from an Aspie. Learn to cope. So it's coming from an autistic person. This is the person who posted it replying they have -4. Yeah, why not? Seems to make things easier. Instead of speculating, we have a label for it. And they're bad people if they mock my autism. I don't know, it just feels a bit strange and manipulative. They're bad people if they mock my autism. But I don't know, maybe this person has a history of being bullied for their weirdness. You don't have autism, that's the problem. You're faking it so you can avoid ridicule. So is it also the Radiohead quote at the beginning of your post is just cringe, just a nitpick, but it's some serious cringe. I love Radiohead, but don't use their lyrics for your shitty post about faking autism. And the person said, I'm not going around faking autism, I'm just being myself and saying I have autism. It's very different. Someone replied, that's faking autism. And someone said, you're a troll. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure that this is legit. But I do always say, if somebody is going out of their way to fake being autistic, and I think sometimes people act like it's a bigger problem than it is, and it's more common than it is that people are faking being autistic. But if somebody is going around faking being autistic, then there probably is something else going on. Weird isn't listed in the DSM-5 as a trait of autism. Weaponizing autism is not a good idea. You should just tell them they're acting like assholes. Like, what if somebody who is autistic comes into the office? Are you gonna still maintain it at that point? I don't know. Someone said effing twist if you're actually on the spectrum. You're literally furthering the stigma as actual autistic people experience, so thanks for that. I hope your actions come back and slap you in the face soon. Yeah, that's true. Like, what are you doing that you feel like is an autistic behavior? Or is it just that, you know, you found through life just being yourself, people tend to call you weird and you don't really know why? I mean, that is an experience that a lot of autistic people have. Again, I just feel like if you feel that different, maybe there is something going on that would be diagnosable. And if you're not sure what that is, then maybe it's good to seek, you know, some help and get a diagnosis. I would recommend, if this is true, if this is not a troll, I don't know. Yeah, wouldn't recommend faking autism in the workplace. Also, like, what if people try and get involved and ask you, do you need any sort of accommodations and stuff? It just feels like it would be really awkward. I feel like it would be really icky. I can't imagine having the confidence to fake having autism. Even when you're actually autistic and you've actually got a diagnosis, you can feel like an imposter. This is the funny thing. There's a chance a lot of people responding to this person might be quite anti-self-diagnosis. One thing that I've really noticed with autistic people who have kind of self-identified is that they'll disclaimer it a million times. I've had people send me messages and then they like star it, and at the bottom they're like, I don't have a clinical diagnosis, for full transparency. Autistic people always like to clarify and be direct and be open and honest about their diagnosis status. You know, most people are not doing what this person is doing. So maybe this person is not autistic. I don't know. I have no idea. And it sounds like this person needs to go and be diagnosed with something, probably, and they should probably go and do that and stop, using the label autism to just, I don't know, hopefully they're not using it to try and get away with doing stuff, and it's just that people naturally don't have a positive response to them. I don't know, what gave you the idea to pretend to be autistic? I don't know, where did it come from? Anyway, whatever, we'll move on from that one. If you did miss my video responding to the fake disorder cringe subreddit of people supposedly faking autism, then I'll leave that one linked down below and on screen. If you would like to see more videos from me, then you can support me over on Patreon. My lowest tier is $4 a month, and when you sign up to that, you can join the Discord server, which is a lovely place where you can chat to other autistic people, make autistic friends, speak to people who get it, and you also get exclusive videos. And on the higher tiers, you get podcasts and outtakes as well. For most of the content, there are polls that you can vote on as well, so you get to choose what you see on there as well. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video very soon. Bye.